My name is Simone Sanders Townsend. Thank you, I am a host on MSNBC of a show called Simone. And I am very excited to be here. And I am your moderator this evening. So yes, we can clap for the moderator. We just experienced some very heavy but great topics. So I want to start this by saying I think every film that we just saw deserves an award. I'm going to bring up my panel now, and then we're going to get into some questions. So as I call your name, please come to the stage, and folks, please show them some love. Haley Elizabeth Anderson, the director of The Sentence of Michael Thompson. Sosena Solomon, director of Living While American. And Rebecca Richman Cohen, director of The Recall. Give it up, give it up, give it up. We've got mics, come on. I'd like to know we got an all-lady panel. And I want you to give a special round of applause because Mr. Michael Thompson is actually with us tonight. He is here, and we are going to hear from him at the end of this panel. I had the illustrious opportunity of interviewing Mr. Thompson on my show, and you were part of the reason I said yes to do this panel. So please join us, sir. And Kyle is coming. Kyle Thrash, who I also interviewed on my show. So we will hear from Mr. Thompson at the end of our panel, and Kyle will join our panel. Hi, Kyle. Kyle also came on my show. Okay, I want to start with, so first of all, this is my second time seeing The Sentence, and I cried the first time. I concurrently cried back there, okay, like long sobs. Shout out to the makeup artist. This is also my second time seeing both of your films, The Recall as well as Living While American, and they all had a similar thing. We're talking about the criminal justice system here. And oftentimes when we talk about criminal justice system, people don't distinguish between the adult system and the juvenile system, but everything that we discussed here also touches on the juvenile justice system. And I'd like if each of you could just talk very quickly about what drew you to the film, to make what you did, and what did you want people to take away from it? And I have some specific system questions. But I want to start with The Recall. And particularly because I think The Recall took an angle that nobody thought was coming. Okay? It came on and you're like, yes, get that judge. And by the end you're like, well, should they have gotten the judge? Talk to us about this.
Yeah, I felt, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Doc NYC for having us here, and to these other filmmakers. It is such an honor to sit with you on this stage, and to all of our crew who's in the audience, our producer Yoruba Richman, and Nathaniel Hansen, who are here. Thank you so much. The Recall felt like an opportunity to tell a story that was really missed by the mainstream media, which is activists were outraged, rightly outraged, by the disparity in sentencing of a white privileged college kid and someone like Michael Thompson, and we should be outraged. But for many of us, our impulse is to ratchet up sentences across the board without realizing how this contributes to racialized mass incarceration. We see ourselves as fighting white privilege, yet we're doing exactly the opposite. So we wanted to start a conversation. The film asks questions it doesn't answer, which is, how should we respond to sexual violence? What are the unmet needs of survivors that this system is not meeting? What are the unintended consequences of our action? So we wanted to be a part of that conversation and honor the work of activists across the country, I think, who have really changed the window of what is politically possible in this country.
I love that. Michael Thompson's name was invoked. I want to go to the both of you. Talk to me a little bit about the decision to, when you set out to make this movie, you did not know, or this documentary, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if Governor Whitmer was going to grant clemency. So talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
Hey, yeah, I guess, I was approached by the nonprofit Last Prisoner Project. That's the work that they do is basically, cannabis is beginning to legalize around this country, and there's still over 40,000 nonviolent prisoners incarcerated for it. And they brought Michael's case to my attention, and I felt like, he kind of encapsulated everything that was wrong with the current system when it comes to cannabis. And I guess Haley and I kind of just wanted to collaborate and try to tell his story, and yeah.
Yeah, what drew me was really to put like a human face to the statistics. We really kind of dug into, Michael's the human side of his story, how it affects his family. You were even talking about what incarceration does to families, and I think just our film kind of illustrates what that feels like, and really helps people see, the emotional side of what it can do.
I think it really, the point was driven home, and I'll do a follow-up question about that. So since living while American, I was very familiar with Isaiah Thomas and the work that he has done. I worked for President Biden's presidential campaign, and we were headquartered in Philadelphia. So very familiar with the conversation that was happening. And I was struck by, the film didn't necessarily get into all of it, but there was a lot of pushback about what the councilman was trying to do, and primarily pushback from people who had never had that experience. I have been pulled over for a tail light and put in handcuffs and taken to jail. That has happened to me. So I talk a little bit about the impetus for following this particular thread.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you had to experience that, like many folks of color, which is our reality, which is part of the reason why I wanted to take this project on. My producers who are here, Luke and Howard, introduced me to Isaiah. And, living in Philadelphia, understanding Philadelphia politics in this country, I was amazed at this local hero who, within his first term, managed to, pull this amazing bill that has helped so many people within a short period of time. And so I don't feel like we hear enough narratives about people of color who are heroes in their everyday perspectives. And Isaiah, again, is an underdog and represents you and me and everyone who, is behind the wheel and has this constant anxiety. So the police commissioner, there's been a lot of pushback with the bill, even if with all its success and all the numbers that are coming out, they're still in litigation till this day, which is incredible, even if it's, again, being proven to protect so many people behind the wheel. So Isaiah is still fighting strong. He's up for re-election in May, and this bill is proven to has an impact in so many other cities that are trying to implement the same law, which is pretty incredible. So so there's so much there, which is why I don't usually do political documentaries, but this is such a personal perspective in politics that we don't usually get. So I was really honored to do it.
Haley, I literally, my anchor PA, Elijah, is back here with me when we were watching this, and she's also, this is like her third time seeing it. And I texted her and I said, this event is gonna radicalize me tonight. I'm about to get radicalized right up in here, because the end of the documentary made me so upset. I was very happy for Michael. I was literally sobbing, crying back there. But then when you flash on the screen that Michael is just one story, there are at least 40,000 people right now in the United States of America who are incarcerated for marijuana. It is infuriating when in this country, right now today, people are making millions and billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you felt that way, because that's what I, personally, and I know Kyle probably wants you to feel. We want people to feel like it's a call to action, because Michael is one of many, and I think that is one of the. There were some of those images, in the film where we see the cannabis plants and everything. I felt very kind of enraged about that. It's like, and just with any narrative, you think, okay, right now I'm living normal, we're here, we're warm, and there's 40,000 other Michaels there. So it's a shame that we have to, make a film to make people feel those feelings, but that's exactly what we want people to feel, so they can get involved and sort of kind of wake up and see that just because cannabis is being legalized, it doesn't mean that anybody is being granted clemency. There's 40,000 other people that need to be let out as cannabis is being legalized across the country. So it's two different issues, you know.
It is two different issues, both interconnected. And Kyle, we kind of spoke about this. Now, it is a reality that most recently, it was, I think, before the release of this film, President Biden, he took action on the federal level to essentially grant clemency to anyone who was currently incarcerated for marijuana possession. The reality is there is no one currently incarcerated for marijuana possession only at the federal level. The majority of the incarcerations are, in fact, at the state level. And the second piece of what the president did is he said he directed, HHS to, give a look into how marijuana is scheduled and then give me a report. What action items do you want people to take from this film? Is there more that you want to see from not just the federal government, but really governors across the country?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, no one, I think we were all really excited. It was the first sitting president to ever.
It's good that he did it now, honey, because I know Joe Biden. It was an important step.
Yeah, but actually no one got out of prison for it, so it was really, more of a public thing and an action for governors. So it's gonna call on all of us voting in the midterms like we all just did. 2 more states legalized, 3 didn't. That was on the ballots, and with that, the important programs like at Last Prisoner Project, where I would say definitely go. That's definitely the call to action. I would say is to go there because they're helping write the laws for people. For as we begin to legalize that, we're including social equity, right? So many people that are profiting off of legal cannabis right now are white capitalists. So we need to reinvest the money back into the communities that were most harmed by the war on drugs. So people like Last Prisoner Project and a lot of other nonprofits that are on their website are kind of helping these governors and are kind of pushing people. And also Michael is doing that too. He's out there. He's going to Princeton in 2 weeks and he's meeting with attorney generals and to talk about these things. So he's got Michael Thompson Clemency Project too. That's working to get people out that have these long trap sentences that he fell under. He was a habitual offender, which again, Joe Biden was one of the people that helped write that bill, and still people outside of cannabis are still under that. So we just need to remember that some of these long sentences need to be commuted. And Michigan actually has the oldest prisoners in the country out of all the 50 states. So, yeah.
All right, Rebecca, I want to talk about Me Too. I want to talk about Me Too because I think everyone in this room can remember whether it is Harvey Weinstein, right, or you can remember the stories. There's a movie coming out actually about the journalist from the New York Times that reported and wrote the article. And in the heat of the debate, I think about senators like Al Franken, who is no longer a member of Congress because of photos that resurfaced and part of the movement. And then obviously Brock Turner is a key part of that conversation. There are many people that said the Me Too movement lacked necessary nuance. It was like a 0 to 1,000. And so it's either no or get out. And in watching the recall, I feel like what you all are raising is the need for nuance. But then I struggle with that because I think about the officer who killed George Floyd, and no one was looking for someone to think about Derek Chauvin's family and his potential in that moment. So talk to me a little bit about again a number of the questions and themes that the film raises.
Yeah, it's a great question. All social movements are complex and diverse. Me Too we think of as like starting in September of 2017, but it didn't. It was Tarana Burks organizing. It was a black woman who had been using that phrase for years and years, who it took a long time to give her credit for the work she did. And so there's lots of aspects of the movement that have deep nuance. Not all of Me Too is hugely carceral and wants to see long sentences. I think just like when you survey survivors of sexual violence, there is a huge range of responses that you hear. The vast majority of survivors don't report to the criminal legal system because they know the trauma they will suffer at the hands of the system. And so I think our work needs to be, how do we respond to the things they need, some of whom want punishment, some of whom want incarceration. That there's a wide range of those experiences, but that it can't be that the only tool in our toolkit is long sentences. It has to be that we have more ways to respond to sexual violence than just that. So I think that's a really important starting point. But it's not, I think, that you need to take an all or nothing view of that. It's that I think we should always look at the complexity of cases and the unintended consequences of the actions that we're calling for.
What has the response been like to this film?
Well, this is our world premiere, so that's really exciting. Thank you. We're very happy to be here. But we've been working with partner organizations for the last 2 months, and our hope is to foster conversations across social movements. So my work has been in the decarceral realm for many years, so people who work on issues related to mass incarceration. But we wanted to partner with organizations whose work is primarily gender justice and racial justice, because these are hard conversations that, like the social justice uprisings of the summer of 2020, brought to the fore. I don't think we could have made this film before then. I don't think the country was ready for those conversations. But the bodies in the street in response to George Floyd's murder was a critical reckoning for this country. And so now I think across the whole country, you're seeing some really important conversations that are long overdue.
Very critical conversations. So since I joke about being radicalized, okay, by watching the films, but I say that by saying that in Living While American, the councilman you intentionally start by him detailing the experience that he had. And it is very clear to me that it was that experience that pushed him to want to do this work and to pass this bill. Without that experience, he probably, would have picked something else. Because he did. Am I correct on that? Like, because I got another question, but answer that one
Yeah,
first.
sure. I think trauma. There are different responses to trauma. In his case, he wanted to use that as kind of a pinnacle fire behind, just really understanding that, like, just being, vitalized and understanding, not being a victim, but finding ways to protect those that have undergone similar experiences. So that was he speaks about that in his activism. He's an activist first and a politician second. So I think being able to connect with people on a personal level is kind of why he's so successful. Understanding the community and going to City Hall and practicing policy. I mean, he's and that's part of his power, and you don't see that oftentimes especially in Philadelphia, in the government system. So yes, that personal story and his advocacy is a big is a huge part of what he does and why he does it. So.
Nationally, right now, I think we have all been subject to, depending on where you live in America, definitely for the folks here in New York, been subject to ads about crime. And nationally, we're having a conversation about quote unquote crime. I'm using crime with quotations because I think we've started to use crime as an umbrella term. For some people, crime means public safety. For some people, crime means guns. For some people, crime means, it means all these different things. And I think we are lacking a nuanced conversation there. Was there it kind of touched on this in the documentary for like a brief second, but was there a conversation about maybe digging in a little more about how, as the councilman himself said, that there will be people that will try to use this to say we are essentially, trying to let criminals get off. We're trying to increase nefarious things that are happening in the community, that we are not on the side of what's best for the community as a whole. Were there more conversations that you had about maybe pulling on that thread a little more?
So this piece is it's the world premiere, but it's also a pilot of a longer series. And so that is his pushback. That's what oftentimes people are saying, that he's trying to promote illegal activity and that he's not really protecting victims. And so he's, as you could see in that, the council member that opposes him, he really has to like reinforce that, no, this is not delegalizing. This is not, this is something that is proven to be, that is not good for the community. And so I think he's constantly having to reiterate that. But no, so we're digging deeper, and we wanted to just kind of give that glimpse of, and this is very much a glimpse of, the beginning stages of pushing the law into effect. But I love that it's very personal. I mean, he shared that story with me in the car. And in this pinnacle moment where you hear the police sirens go by, and you could see,
did you not add those sirens?
No.
Oh, Lord.
We have an amazing editor, and she helped with the soundscape, but no, the sirens were in there, and you could still see the fear in his face. That's what I love about documentary filmmaking. Those things you can't really plan. They're very much, and as he's talking about police, he's also on guard, and so this is a fragility there. But anyway, so no, we're digging deeper into that.
I love that. For each of you, I think storytelling is key. It's important. It's why we're here. It's why this festival exists. The power of stories, and it is so striking to me that people get to pick and choose whose story is important. And what I love about each of these films is that this is the every person's story, right? There are, as we noted, there are at least 40,000 other Michael Thompsons. Like, there are people who can identify with the experience that the councilman had. There are so many people, we talk about sexual violence and Me Too, that can identify. But oftentimes, the stories are not told. The people, the human faces are not elevated. And you all made the intentional decision to elevate those people on those stories, to put a human face on it, to say this is a story that is important. And I just wonder, what message do you think other folks should take from that? Because the reality is, for someone else might have looked past Michael Thompson. Matter of fact, other people did. Kyle's like, look, that's too deep for me. It's 11 p.m. at night.
I was just looking over at Michael. Yeah. I guess the importance of storytelling is, is trying to put a face to that statistic, right, and try to humanize that. I think we all know someone. Most people probably in this room have consumed cannabis in their life and probably haven't gone to prison for it, whether that's possession or for selling. So I think it's something that just kind of touches all of us. So I think I just tried to feel like it was a human story the way other people look at stories. I don't know, Haley.
You all elevated the family too, though, Haley, and that was what I have a story to tell about every single one of the films that we saw tonight. And an immediate family member of mine was served 7 years in the Nebraska State Penitentiary because he was pulled over on a traffic stop, and he had enough marijuana on him that the judge said it was intent to distribute. And what it does to a family, I think we do not talk enough about the effect of incarceration on families. And again, it goes back to who decides which stories are important. And you all it felt to me it was very intentional that you told a story that was intrinsically about family. Michael is a family man.
Yeah, I also like, I don't know, when we were working on the film, the idea of kind of cycles. Going through your family photos, Michael, and seeing Rashonda as a child and then seeing his granddaughter have another baby. It's something that we can all kind of identify with. I feel like if you're feeling something, just like music or anything, it kind of moves you to move. And I think that's just how I think we both approached it. And but the images and the cycles of life sort of is what I like that we touched on a lot.
I love it. Rebecca, how did the story of the recall come to you? How did, obviously we all knew about, most people knew about Brock Turner. We knew about the judge, but how did this particularly get on your radar that said we need to do this angle?
Yeah, I mean, I followed the recall when it happened, and there just seemed to be almost no thoughtful coverage. There was maybe lip service to the argument that activists or public defenders said sentences would increase across the board, but until the work of Sandy Gordon, who's here right now, an NYU sociologist.
Wave, Sandy, wave!
Who published that article finding a 30% increase in sentences across the state of California. It was anecdotal, and to have that sort of deep scholarship as research to say, this is what activists were saying. Like, we need to check our carceral impulses. We need to check our deep desire for long sentences and harsh punishment because there can be really unintended consequences. I think that all came together in a way that made this sort of storytelling possible.
Made it possible. My last question, Sosena, will be, you mentioned this at the top, but you said you usually don't do these kind of films. Well, it seemed to me like this film was quite well done, but what drew you to want to do this? Again, you intentionally chose to tell this story, and from what I just heard, you would like to keep telling it. This is a pilot in a series. Can you just peel the layer back for us one more? Because who tells the story matters. You know, if the lion tells the story, the lion is always the victor. But no one ever heard from the sheep, the deer, or the man that the lion mauled and ran over. And it makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, I had a great team, so I can't take full credit.
Wave team, wave.
Hey team. Thank you. What I do well is emotional, personal, character-driven documentaries, and I wanted, that's what films do, right? They cause you to feel, and I wanted to have that experience. I mean, given what was going on, we shot this in end of 2019, 2020, all the riots, and just at the height of this political unrest, and I wanted to create a very personal narrative of someone who's doing something positive, and that there is a possibility of progress with policing and with this agenda, and that, there's a hopeful narrative. And I really believe in Isaiah and what he's doing, and so I tend to do more experimental work, but I wanted to bring that heart to this story. So, yeah.
I think we felt the heart. Please give a round of applause for Haley Elizabeth Anderson, Sosena Solomon, Rebecca Richman Cohen, and Kyle Thrash. You all should, really, watch it again, but then also think about what you are going to do. I think that every single one of these films is a call to action that should push us to think a little bit deeper and think about what we can do more of, because we can all always do more. Now, before we go, I would like you to give a rousing round of applause to Mr. Michael Thompson. He is going to come to the front right now. And as Mr. Thompson comes, I think it is really, there are so many people across the country who unfortunately have experienced what you have experienced. There are people who have had just trauma has rocked their family. And I think the most just humbling thing for me is that you have decided to spend the time that you have fighting and educating and uplifting. And for that, we thank you for that, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, it's like this. I'm glad everyone's seen the documentaries. They're all good documentaries. You can learn something from all of them. But the sentence of Michael Thompson is a lot you didn't see and you didn't hear. And so I'm here to tell you about it because I lived it for 25 years. 25 years. And I keep asking people, who had marijuana killed to force me to be in prison for 25 years. I mean, how can you justify that? 25 years for marijuana? Who had marijuana killed? And my thing is, there's so many people that's in prison that shouldn't be in prison. And marijuana people should not be in prison, period. Marijuana people, you locking people up for nothing. You done legalize this stuff now. So why are you got people locked up for this stuff? Why? Who are you? Show your face. Because if you're a politician and you're allowing this, you shouldn't be in office. You shouldn't be in office at all. You should never be in office. The people have spoken when it comes to marijuana. They have spoken. But still, you said the hell with the people. You just keep people locked up. You know, when I was in prison, I used to sit back and watch how they treat them guys. And I used to sit back and just watch them take a guy to the control center or the healthcare, and they have him chained up. They have him shackled up. But that ain't good enough for them. What they do, they put a dog leash on them. Put a dog leash after you've been shackled the man. You put a dog leash on him. And I used to sit back and look at that, and I used to say, one day, I'm gonna make this come back and haunt them. You know, the reason why they do that stuff because they don't think you guys care. They know that they're a burden on the taxpayers. They know that they vote don't count, so the politicians don't care. So they say, who give a damn about us? So that's the reason why you see the streets turn red. Because you didn't give a damn about them, and now they don't give a damn about you. And so my thing is, and I ask you, the Michael Thompson clemency, the Last Prisoner Project, all these organizations that's trying to help them so they can help someone. You know, what I went through, I should have never went through. My family is torn apart. It's torn apart. I've been trying to put it back together, but it ain't easy. I got my granddaughter here. She flew over here with me. She's been working with me. And I just want her to hear some of the things that I speak about. Her name is Branisha. She's the one that's working the camera right now. She never knew what I did. She never knew nothing about me, about prison. Because I'm a type of guy that I don't like liars. I don't like snakes. I don't like phonies. I just like real people. And show you how real I am. I stopped my visits for 20 years. I wouldn't see no one for 20 years. No one. And so what Department of Correction did was sent me to a psych. Not one time, 3 times. Because I refused a visit. Because I had morals and principles, and I choose to exercise them. I'm not one of them guys that just talk. I'm about action. And that's the reason why the Michael Thompson clemency I started. Because when I was leaving prison, I still hear the voices in my head. I hear the guy saying, they call me Miko. He said, Miko, tell the truth. Go out there and tell the truth. And that's what I've been doing. All the rest of them will tell you something else. You know, the president signed terrorist bills, and the terrorist bill didn't hurt nobody. It hurt the terrorists. It hurt the people in their own country. A lot of guys in prison right now up under that terrorist bill been in there 50 years. Did you know that? A lot of them been in there 30 years. Did you know that? And these is good people. You got a guy named Leroy Washington. His family paying their own money for his schooling. And he finna get his doctor's degree. You don't hear nothing about that. You got people like Horace Peterson. He been down 54 years. He didn't kill no one. But because of this slick word, felony murder, it's been keeping him in prison all this time. Okay, and then you got what they kept me in prison for a long time. The habitual offender. They need to just take it apart. That habitual offender is only for people of color. It's only for people of color. Whites don't get the habitual offender, felony murder. They don't get that kind of stuff. I can only tell you the truth. No matter how much it might hurt to say it to you. But you got people dying in this country for no reason. In the prisons. And they're good people. All the people in prison is not bad. All the people in prison is not bad. Yes, they got some bad ones in there, but they got some good ones in there too. So what do? Put them all in one basket. What about the ones that really want to do something with their life? So all I wanted to say, and I'm thankful to you, and I've been following you. You know, you kind of jazzy. You're a jazzy. And I just look at you. She don't have no slow words. They're all fast. And I'm thankful to MSNBC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thankful to them because it's needed. And I'm glad that I had a chance to speak to you. I come over to New York just to speak to you. And I come back again because I I was at a place called Hamptons. And next on my, that's New York. They ain't no New York. No, I ain't no New York. Some people live a little different than New York, you know. And I ain't talking about just one or two, a whole bunch of them. And so my thing is, anytime you want me back, anytime you want to help me, anytime you want to talk to me, only thing you do is look at Michael Thompson Clemency and get the word, and I'll call you. Thank you.
Give it up for Mr. Michael Thompson, everybody. Thank you. I think that is a very fitting way to end. All right, this is the Meet the Press 2022 Film Festival. Thank you, Doc NYC, and thank you all. Everyone have a safe night, and please stay warm.